You know the solos. They're the ones that tell a story and really stick with you. But what makes a truly great pop rock solo stand out? Who were the masters of the 70s and 80s and what were their tricks? That's coming right up. The 70s and 80s were packed with guitarists who could write the perfect solo. Melodic, memorable, and just technical enough to impress without overshadowing the song. Guitarists like Elliot Easton, Neil Giraldo, Steve Lukather, and of course Neil Schon were masters of the craft. But one guitarist, despite his chart-topping success, has been largely overlooked, and his playing was just as powerful. That's Gary Richrath. In the early days of MTV, REO Speedwagon were huge. They had already made their mark with songs like Riding the Storm Out and Roll with the Changes, which showed Gary could rock with the best of them. But with the release of High Infidelity, they leaned into pop and power ballads like Keep On Loving You, and they took over the airwaves. But today we're looking at a different power ballad of theirs, and it was a #1 hit. The beauty of this one is that it's a powerful, simple solo, and yet it's packed with tricks that every guitarist should know. It's the solo to Can't Fight This Feeling. Let's dig in. Now, before we get into the details and the chords and all of that, let's talk a little bit about what a pop rock guitarist needs to do to be effective on a power ballad. Most of all, it needs to have some sort of hook, some sort of musical idea, and it also needs to be melodic. And that usually means that we're not going to use a pentatonic, we're probably going to use a major scale as the framework, among other things that we'll get into later. But armed with that, let's take a look at the chords. Okay, here are the chords, and I know it looks a bit scary, but actually this is a lot simpler than you think. A lot of these chords, these slash chords, like this E/A, are there because it's mainly a piano song, and the piano is playing different bass notes that are there. So let's simplify this, and you'll see it's a lot easier than you think it is. And voila, much simpler. As you see here, there's a lot of chords here, but there's really only 4 unique ones: A, E, F sharp minor, and D. And the good news is all of those chords are in the key of A major, so we can use the A major scale as a framework for the whole solo. All right, now that we have the framework, we can go through it line by line in detail, and each line is going to have a secret there for you, and there's a special secret at the very end that I'll share with you that Gary used throughout the solo. All right, here it is without the backing track. Now you probably notice he's all over the neck, and we'll get to that on the second line. But right now I want to point out the pinch harmonics that he used. Now these were a staple of the 70s and especially the 80s. You heard Billy Gibbons use it, Eddie Van Halen used it all the time. How do you get that sound? Well, there's 2 things I find that you have to do. One is you have to really choke up on the pick, your flesh really very close to the end of the pick, and just kind of dig in. And what's happening is the flesh of your finger is going to hit on the string, on the vibrating string, just a little bit. Now it's an unconscious thing, so you just have to practice. And you'll also notice that where you play it on the string matters. And so you can test around with each guitar where that's going to give that to you. The second thing that's really going to help with doing those pinch harmonics is to put some distortion or lots of overdrive on the guitar. That's going to help you get those pinch harmonics right. All right, here's line 2, and this one has 2 tricks in it. And here it is without the backing track so you can hear it more clearly. The first trick is that this line is a response to the first line. He's using call and response here. Did you notice that it's the same cadence, but it's slightly different? It ends on a different note, and it uses the same ideas. Now that same idea is playing notes in the scale, but not playing it in a position, but playing it along one string. So he's using notes in the A major or A major pentatonic. In this case, they're all pentatonic notes that are all on one string. And that gives the solo a very fluid sound and a very emotive sound. It's very emotional how he's playing it on one string with those slides. definitely tricks that you can incorporate into your own solos. Now here's line 3 with yet another trick. Now here's line 3 without the backing track so you can hear it more clearly. The trick here is what's called a rake. So we want to play this note right here, G11, but we don't just want to play that. We want to make it a really impactful note. Play it strong. We play the A string and the D string, but we block them out. And here's the simplest way to do it. Just take your index finger and block the strings with that. So you can play that and then you stop on this note. That's something that you can practice and get down really quickly. And that rake is something that you'll hear a lot of really good blues rock players use. So definitely get that one down. It's not that difficult to get down if you practice it a little bit. Great trick. All right, here's the 4th line and yet another trick. Check it out. And here it is without the backing track so you can hear it more clearly. Now what this one does that so many power ballads do is at some point, and usually at the end of the solo, they go way up high, and on the first 2 strings, on the E and the B strings, they play an arpeggio. And that's what this is right here. It's an A arpeggio. So it's an A arpeggio, and then they play the 9th of A, which is a B. And that fills up a lot of space, and it's nice up high. You hear Duane Allman even doing that kind of thing throughout a lot of his work. And the ending notes, that last note right there is an E, the root of the final chord. So yeah, add these tricks into your own play to make it more emotional and impactful. Best way to do that is just to learn this solo. It'll get you a long way on all these tricks. Oh yeah, what's Gary's final trick? He recorded with 2 guitars to thicken up the sound. But while this solo does have a lot of tricks, there's more to rock guitar than power ballads. So click here because the radio rock players of the 70s and 80s had other tricks up their sleeve, and I'm going to show you another really cool one. Click here. I'll see you in the next video, and I'll see you on down the road.